Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I am Isani Cayetano. Good morning.
Good morning, Isani. It's a beautiful day when you're able to come to work on a Tuesday, and that's the start of the week, yeah?
It's a Tuesday, Monday, I'll tell you that.
It's a Tuesday, Monday, and I feel
Monday,
like
Tuesday, however you want to look at it.
we should all feel so rested and ready to take on the short week, the shorter week.
Yes,
I believe, I believe you had a great weekend. I saw some snippets of what you were up to. But I'd like to think that we enjoyed our weekends. How are you doing after the extended weekend?
First of all, it was a weekend that was chock filled with events and activities for all of us to attend. And for those who are on summer vacation, I'll plug this in before I go back to what I was doing this weekend. For those who are on summer vacation or who don't have work today and are up already, perhaps you might want to stop by the Belize City Center. I passed there on my way to work earlier, and there is a full-on concert, a free performance series taking place there in commemoration of Emancipation Day, which is today, the 1st of August. So I'm just putting that out there for persons who may be interested in, attending or, participating. But yeah, so, I mean, my weekend was eventful, I'll tell you that much. There was something to do every single day of the weekend. I did not attend the Music and Food Festival. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I had something to do right around. And, I believe that, many of us Belizeans did several activities this weekend. They either attended one of the 2 nights at the BIMFF, or they did some traveling. I know some persons who headed out west yesterday to Melchor, and I heard the complaints of buses, lined, for quite a distance in terms of persons trying to go over. I would presume similarly for Chetamal yesterday.
I was there caught in that line. I was in the line trying to get back across the border at 9:30 in the night. I ended up sleeping because I knew I had to be here this morning. But I also, just as you mentioned, we've been talking about this weekend that passed and the fact that it would be very eventful this entire month, in fact. Of course, we had the Belize International Music and Food Festival that took place over the weekend, and that was a 2-day event that saw Belizean performers as well as international artists come to Belize to showcase their music. Aside from that, we also had quite a lineup of food vendors where persons could take advantage of all the different types of food and small businesses that we have here in Belize across the country. Overall, I think it was a great festival. I definitely saw some mixed reviews on both days, but I think that overall it did bring a crowd. I did see some of the performances online. Isani, I wanted to go to the festival only for one thing. I wanted to go get breadfruit, and I didn't make it. And that's the only regret I have.
Well, it's unfortunate that you did not attend to be able to indulge in breadfruit, but it's breadfruit season, so perhaps you'd be able to, get it somewhere else. There's one, I wouldn't say concern, perhaps that's not the word that I want to use, but questions have been raised nonetheless with respect of the 2nd annual Belize International Music and Food Festival. After all, these are monies that are spent from the public purse. And so, as with everything that has to do with public funds, there has to be accountability for what was set aside, how much of it was used, if it turned a profit, so on and so forth. And so I know that the opposition has called for an audit, or, you know, something that says, look, this was done transparently and we're able to follow the money and what have you, which is legitimate. I mean, like I said, these are private monies being spent for a private venture. So, you know, those questions are, you know, more than on point. You need to be able to come back and say to us, look, this was what was set aside, however much, however many, whatever, right? This was how much was spent. This was how much was either made back, or we took a loss, or whatever the case may be, you know. And so I guess in the days ahead, we're going to be expecting to hear from either the minister, the ministry, or the folks over at BTB to give us that breakdown.
Yeah, so we had attendance. We had on the show the planners for the BIMFF on several different occasions.
Yeah.
And one thing that they made sure to mention was that the proceeds from this festival would be used for the orange economy.
Which is fine.
Which is great.
Perfectly fine.
But I think, as you mentioned, what the Belizeans want to know is not only the audit for this particular festival, but the one from last year as well, which they say that they're still yet to see. We do know that...
I believe following last year's one, you know, there was, if I'm not mistaken, an ad that was taken out that broke down the expenditure. Okay. To be fair to last year's event, I believe I saw that. So perhaps it's the same expectation this year that there will be some breakdown. But again, you know, when you have figures being thrown around, it needs to be verified and authenticated. So, you know, you can't just run an ad and expect that, you know, we just, you know, accept that to be true. Perhaps it has to be backed by a clearinghouse or public accountants or that sort of thing. And I know that that's going to happen, you know. I don't take that away from them.
And I mean, the minister himself said that this festival, this year's festival, took more investment than last year, and we could definitely see it in the layout. If you were able to at least see some snippets online of the tunnel entrance alone, that was really impressive. As I mentioned, I did not go physically, but I did see footage online, and I was personally impressed by just the entrance alone. The stage, everything just looked really, really heavily invested in. As I mentioned, though, there were mixed reviews. So we did see some people complaining about the time that the performances began. For instance, these performers were supposed to begin 5, if I'm not mistaken, 5 p.m., but they ended up starting 10:30 instead. Yeah. So that's almost 6 hours later. And then, of course, the entire festival finishing while the sun is rising in the morning. Can you imagine how everybody's foot must have been hurt, Sani?
Well, I think there are a couple things from my own past international concert experience. You know, you have a time management and logistics. That's everything, right? So that you have a defined time where the performers begin or the event begins, and there's a set time when it ends, right? And I know that in the States they're stiff on that. You know, you don't have the luxury of delaying it a couple hours and then compensating for it in the early hours of the following day. It doesn't work like that elsewhere. You know, at least from my previous experiences with concerts. What I also saw, well, what I read in the wake of the weekend events was a release issued by the TLC band where there was a performer who, you know, took his moment on the stage to blast the BTB. I mean, maybe it wouldn't have been the time and place if he felt aggrieved by anything that happened there. That wasn't the appropriate forum to be able to ventilate that, but it happened. And the TLC band issued a statement drawing distance from the comments that were made by this particular individual, which I think is responsible. If you're not part of what is being put out there, it's responsible that you would distance yourself from those comments, right? But yeah, I mean, it came and went, and now we're waiting to see what's next.
Yeah, I think overall, I definitely believe that persons that went there, they were entertained. They enjoyed the performances. As I mentioned, we saw, aside from international artists come to share their music, we saw Belizean artists as well. I was told, and based on my own personal viewing, I thought that they did great. I also remember watching some of the videos from last year's BIMFF, and I saw an improvement in the performances, definitely based on the artists, the Belizean artists that I saw. Some of my favorites were Jay Cass. I really enjoyed Brittany Starr that was here. She did a phenomenal job. I also enjoyed Stig's performance as well. So those are just some of the artists that I did see. And aside from that, well, we know that some of those international artists, they brought out their fans. We saw Spice doing a lot of stuff on the stage. Rotimi, he did great as well. And Morgan Heritage, which I know for a fact that their fans that went out there, they wanted more from him. I believe he was supposed to give a 45-minute show, and he ended up only doing 20 minutes, or 60-minute show he was supposed to do, and he only ended up doing 20 minutes. So he definitely left more to be, you know, wanted, but so it goes.
There's an argument or a conversation perhaps to be had with respect of Morgan Heritage, because their discography of music is so deep that you'd have to dedicate an entire
concert for him.
You know, so I mean, if
so
they're
you can
sharing
imagine
the
if he only got 20 minutes.
if they're sharing the stage time with other artists and what have you, then there's no way you'll expect to get everything that you would want out of them. I mean, that's just the way it is.
But overall, I think it was a great activity to fill the weekend with. You had 2 out of 3 days to have some family time and also enjoy some entertainment. So I think overall it was a great weekend. Aside from that, of course, there was the Emancipation Day activities yesterday that took place. I know we had Paul on the scene covering some of that. So I'm looking forward to that in our Culture Tuesday coverage. But I think overall it was a great weekend, Isani. Yes. But we're going to move over into our Eye on the News because it is a Monday, Tuesday.
Yes,
and of course we have you here with us, giving us, you know, all the details in harder news that took place as well.
I'm trying to figure out where do I begin from with this? There was an incident in Orange Walk last night that harkens back to a similar situation that occurred in Orange Walk last year. And I describe it as deja vu. You know, we've been here before. We've seen what the outcome of this kind of pursuit is. We see the families that are left, you know, grief-stricken, that you know, things don't transpire the way they ought to in terms of law enforcement pursuing civilians, right? And so last night's chatter was what some would describe as somewhat of an uprising among residents of Orange Walk in the wake of an incident where police officers set chase after 2 individuals, and one of them was reportedly killed as a result of that pursuit. And so I say it harkens back to the DeAndre Chi situation that we saw last year. Again, perhaps altogether different circumstances, but it peels back a scab for residents of Orange Walk that they were trying to heal from a wound of this sort. What I want to do first of all is go to an audio clip of what transpired. I know that regrettably we have the audio is separate from the video, so we'll go with the audio clip to establish what transpired first, and then we'll be able to share with our viewers the actual videos of what took place. This is courtesy of Belize Live News. My good friend Victor Castillo in Orange Walk was able to assist with that. And of course, we will get further details of what took place later in the day. I know that we will be deploying to Orange Walk this morning, but here's the audio clip of exactly what one witness saw.
So while we wait to air that, I definitely want to touch, Isani, on what you mentioned on this feeling a little bit like deja vu.
Yeah.
I can't imagine just what the atmosphere of that, was like last night. As you mentioned, this is an uproar of the Orange Walk community, the Orange Walk district, speaking out against police brutality. And what we're watching now is something that can develop further. So this is something that we will definitely need to watch closely. And now we're going to provide you with that audio clip.
Tell me exactly what you saw, what happened.
Well, I did on my see so far, and I see the flashing light of a police, they come down the lane, and I hear the motor, they go to the front, so I come out and I check. When I peep, I see that my two friends police chase. And then when I do so, I say, make a look behind on my next side where I could see the back street. When I do so, I see my friend pass. When I see my friend pass, I hear bam. Now, I don't know if he gets shot. And something happened here, something happened here. Where got on, Daddy? Motherfucker! For Bali, but the Bali just can tell her the Bali women they are back.
So yeah, that's in its unedited form, including the use of language from the eyewitness there. So this is a situation where, if you listen to what he's describing, is similar to what happened with the DeAndre Chi matter last year. And I guess for me, the first question, the primary question in all of this is, what did members of law enforcement learn from this incident last year as to why there is a repeat of what happened with DeAndre Chi, with what took place in Orange Walk again last night? Men on motorcycles, a pursuit being given, shots were fired, from what I'm made to understand, and there was a fatality, reportedly, right? The question is, were there specific rules of engagement that were implemented in the wake of the previous incident as to why these men were comfortable pursuing in like manner once again?
Yeah.
Did they not learn from that incident as to say, well, you know what, we shouldn't have addressed the situation in the manner in which we did? These are all questions that are being asked in terms of what transpired last night.
Yeah.
All right? It's difficult. I mean, it's difficult. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like reopening a wound that people in the North are trying to heal from.
Yeah.
And so they find themselves right there again. I'm certain that the Belize Police Department will be providing us with answers for some of the fundamental questions that we have with what went wrong here last night. There's a monthly meeting of the brass of the police department. I understand that that's being held here in Belize City today. And I'm hoping that thereafter, we as the reporters would be able to get meaningful response from either the Commissioner of Police or from the Minister of Home Affairs in respect of this matter.
Yeah. I mean, as I did mention, this is something that you'd have to watch closely, because seeing Orange Wakeños reacting in this way could possibly create a ripple effect for other districts that also have grievances against the Belize Police Department. So in a lot of cases, activities like this could influence other districts following suit. So I definitely think that the Belize Police Department needs to get this matter under control, also to explain what exactly took place, and really just try to deal with whatever issue that is felt over in Orange Walk, because as you mentioned, it is a wound that is being opened again. So whatever level of grief they're carrying because of what happened with DeAndre Chi, it's being felt all over again. And this is only the start of what could happen. It could get a lot worse.
Well, like I said, I mean, they need to take swift action to address the issue, to allay the concerns and fears of other residents in Orange Walk. And of course, you know, if the officers who are in pursuit are found culpable of what took place, then they should be made to face the justice system. So which is the other part of what's going to happen here. I'm certain that there has to be an investigation, and then with the outcome of the investigation, it's determined whether or not these persons are culpable of their actions, for their actions. So that's last night. We began the extended weekend with a state of emergency in 3 designated areas of Belize City, and that too comes on the heels of a series of violent encounters across Belize City with feuding groups. So on Friday morning, there was a pre-dawn operation led by the police department where a number of individuals taken into custody, and bulletins issued for other persons who are at large. And again, this is part of a crackdown by the department to address the scourge of gun violence in Belize City. You know, it's a tough situation for the police department. You know, on the one hand, you're doing your best to be able to address crime and violence and deal with the issue of security, citizen security. On the other hand, there's another event where you're trying to understand what took place, and then, you know, it's a lot for anyone's plate, I understand that, but at the end of the day, while there is responsibility for citizen security, law enforcement also has to abide by the law. You know, it's one of those things where we're all subject to the same set of rules and regulations that govern our society. But yeah, back to the state of emergency. So as we've established, you know, you have the area of Cesar Ridge Road, we have the area of George Street, and we also have the area of Orange Street, that area known as Taylor's Alley. You know, those are the 3 hot spots, in a manner of speaking, that the police department has chosen to crack down on, based on the series of shootings, the deadly outcomes from last week and the week before. That extends for a 30-day period. I know over the weekend we saw that certain persons had been captured along with this state of emergency. You know, wanted posters are still out there for a few remaining, you know, individuals. And that's where we are. That bookends an extended weekend, you know, with a state of emergency, and of course with this incident in Orange Walk.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions that could still be asked as it relates to the state of emergency. For instance, the first thing that pops in my mind is a story that we did on Friday, where, of course, the Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams, mentioned that this isn't the preferred method by the current administration, having a state of emergency and bringing in these men and taking them to the Belize Central Prison. So the question is, how effective is this method? And it really took me to a point where I worked before. We made a visit to the Belize Central Prison, and these men were speaking about when they are gathered and taken to prison whenever there's a state of emergency, obviously to do a quick quell of gun violence. And these men mentioned that what it really does is just creates more anger within them, because they have to leave their families that they are trying to take care of. So with them knowing that they're not able to provide for their families, who's left there to do that? And obviously them going to the prison for however long they would be there, coming back out, they're just trying to pick up the pieces as quickly as possible with even more anger.
But these are the same individuals who are allegedly involved in criminality.
Yes. So there's so many ways that you can argue.
Yeah, but where do you say, okay, wow, I should empathize with
and that's
the fact that they were plucked out of their homes, when for all intents and purposes, these are the very individuals who are engaged in this kind of activity. So where do
indeed,
we draw that?
that is an argument. And obviously, I'm not saying that I agree with what they're saying. I'm telling you what they were saying. And that's why I say the question is then, how effective is the state of emergency? And as you mentioned just moments ago, the Belize Police Department is in a tight spot because they have to do what they can to calm the violence, but they also have to do it legally. So then it's kind of like they're left between a rock and a hard place.
Well, a state of emergency is not illegal. It allows
but picking up the men.
It allows the state to be able to suspend the fundamental rights of the individuals who are engaged in this instance, this particular kind of violent activity, right? And as you mentioned earlier as well, it's not the method of choice for the present administration, but as a last resort, it at least helps to cool the tension while they try to figure out how to effectively address it going forward.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the first SOE. We've had enough SOEs over time where, you know, the administration of the day comes in and says, you know what, let's round them up, let's lock them up for a period of time and see how we could address the issue of gang violence in this case meaningfully. So that's what we're seeing. Again, we will expand on this certainly in our newscast this evening.
Yeah.
There's a lot for us to cover, including Belize's performance over the weekend in the basketball tournament. That's another topic.
Exciting.
But yes, I'll leave that there for this morning's Eye on the News. Again, you can catch us live at 6 o'clock via Facebook, YouTube, and in front of your television sets. That does it for this morning's Eye on the News.
So the impact where the get.
All right. Thanks so much, Isani, for providing us with those updates. But we're going to move over to the weather report. And I think we've been experiencing some relatively good weather. We did get some showers of blessing over the weekend, but it did hold up for the most part for the festival. So we will see what we can expect today through the rest of the week. Overall, though, I think what we are hoping for is cooler temperatures. One thing that has been covered on the international front is that some of the states have been experiencing heightened temperatures, the triple digits, and we're not talking a little 102, 101, like 110, 110, that is. We have with us forecaster Derek Rudon. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Well, what can we expect today as it relates to the general situation?
Okay. Conditions continue or have become a bit more moist and unstable, and so we can expect a few showers over most areas today.
All right, and that extends through to the 24-hour forecast?
Okay, it's the 24-hour. The forecast for today then is for sunny skies with cloudy intervals, along with a few showers or thunderstorms over most areas. Tonight we're expecting partly cloudy skies with a few showers or thunderstorms, mainly over the south.
What kind of temperatures are we looking at?
Okay, 88 Fahrenheit along the coast, 93 inland, and 81 up in the mountains. The lows for tonight, 82 Fahrenheit over the coast, 74 inland, 68 up in the mountains.
And do you have a general outlook through to midweek?
Okay, for tomorrow, mainly fair with isolated showers or thunderstorms, but showers will increase over some coastal areas during the night. And on Thursday, then we're expecting some showers over both areas.
All right. Any watches or warnings, forecaster?
At the moment, no. And winds we're expecting light today from the east at 5 to 15 knots and 68 light chop. No warnings at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, forecaster Rudon. We appreciate the information as always.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So as I was mentioning. And also Gavin spoke about it because he had traveled recently in Europe. These parts of the world are experiencing a rise in heat. For instance, we're talking New York City experiencing 110 degrees, which is really, really hot. We're talking almost unbearable to go outside. So definitely, I think we should be counting our blessings. We know what it's like to have experienced a heat wave just recently. And of course, it didn't reach to that type of temperatures. But definitely, if we don't believe that climate change exists, I don't know what else to tell you. We're going to move into our show lineup this morning, and we have 3 great conversations. Starting things off, we will be joined by Dr. Abigail McKay to speak to us about Emancipation Day and its significance.
It is National Breastfeeding Week, which means that we will also be joined by 3 individuals who are going to be talking to us about breastfeeding and the significance of breastfeeding.
And we will also be joined by some athletes in our 3rd segment. We will be joined by players of the under-23 Central American Men's Volleyball Championship here in Belize. So 3 great conversations coming up, but we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we will be talking about the significance of Emancipation Day. Don't go away.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babe, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Out.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
KTV The Remix Season 5, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Pony Drive and 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. $3 for children and $5 for adults. Or catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Don't miss KTV The Remix Season 5. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Keycocker, San Pedro, and Belize City are just a click away with Caribbean Sprinter. Avoid delays by getting your tickets and boarding passes online at sprinter.bz, and welcome aboard.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the short code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Smart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
Wake up! Wake up! Now which cheese you think you may eat all the while? Gallo cheese with the blue rooster on the label is the traditional and the real deal. The original Dutch, redback or hard cheese in a Belize. Be aware. Check your label and make sure it is in English and for the Belize market. Gallo cheese with the blue rooster. The real deal. Santiago Castillo Limited, supporting and building our Belizean community for 95 years and counting.
Gallo Edam Dutch cheese, aged and tropicalized, the best formula for the Belize market. Exclusively distributed by Santiago Castillo Limited.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
And welcome back. We have with us this morning in studio Dr. Abigail McKay. She is the chair of the Belize History Association. Good morning, Dr. McKay.
Morning.
And we are here to discuss this morning Emancipation Day and its cultural and historic significance on us as Belizeans, or to us as Belizeans. Let's begin first by establishing what was Emancipation Day and perhaps why it's so important to keep that and honor that as part of our Belizean heritage.
Well, Emancipation Day is today, legally, so some people might even suggest all that we did yesterday may have been to naught, because the Emancipation Day is the 1st of August. It's the 1st of August, 1833 or 34, and then the British Empire took 4 more years out of the lives of our ancestors, saying that they didn't know how to work, or they didn't know how to live, they didn't know how to exist. That's what they're saying on paper, but in reality it was to give free labor. Apprenticeship period, they called it. So that Emancipation Day was delayed until August 1st, 1838. So that's when it was no longer a major enterprise for the British Empire and all in the slave trade world, the Europeans, Spaniards, the Dutch, the French, all the others, was no longer a major viable economic activity. They had in fact banned the trading of slaves from earlier in the 19th century. And instead what they started doing was having slave factories, making women breeders across the empire. And I think that is important for us to always understand and appreciate. Nonetheless, freedom is freedom, even if it's the thought more than it is in the action. In fact, the visiting Nicaraguan pastor at the Queen Street Baptist service this past pre-Emancipation Day event spoke of freedom to be free in deed and free in need. And I told him I would co-opt his phrase. I absolutely love the way he spoke of it, because we can be free in thought, but in practicality it isn't so. And we were having a pre-conversation about the many ways that we are in fact not free. So that was one of the things that we have to pay attention to. And that was part of what Emancipation Day of August 1st, 1838 speaks to. That here we have an opportunity to live our lives, to not have a master dictating what we do, But we know enough history, no matter how short it is, to know that it was not all fine and dandy after that. It didn't go that way forever. We still have spaces in Belize River Valley where the land that people live on are estates. They are not free, necessarily free for people. So that is something we need to be looking into.
Wow.
We need to be, are they still living on land that is technically owned by these masters? You know, all of these banks that we have, where this bank, that bank, all the rest of
Flowers,
them,
they
were estates. They belonged to Baymen. So those are some of the things that we have to look into as a part of our making sure that emancipation is freedom in deed, not in need, but in deed, because it still is freedom that is needed. And that is tied into this decade that we are experiencing right now through the United Nations that declared 2015 to 2024 the decade for people of Black African descent. And I say Black African, and I ask all of us who are in this hemisphere as descendants of the Africans who were enslaved to use that term, because the United Nations itself needs to hear it. There are white Africans. White people were born in African spaces, so they are Africans. So, but the decade, of course, is in reference to the descendants of enslaved people. And the theme for it is recognition, justice, and development. And it's all about recognizing the spaces of the people who are descended from those who were enslaved, and making sure justice is meted out. And justice, to a large extent, includes reparations.
I was just about to go there. You can't have the conversation of slavery and emancipation
and
without,
not reparations.
Yeah. Where are we in our efforts to seek and get the kind of reparations that we're looking for? And it's not just a Belize thing. In our case, it's a regional thing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
I know Dr. Hilary Beckles has been a proponent of the reparations discussion.
Yeah, he is the CARICOM chair for the Reparations Commission from a regional perspective. But looking at it from a national perspective, it's an excellent question for us to ask our government. Where are we? What is the National Commission? What is it doing? How are we dealing with it? So that is a question that we hope we can get some answers. And if you find out before me, please tell me. And if I find out before, maybe I'll engage and say, let's have another conversation around that. But it's a place where we as a nation, Belize has to do its part. To some extent, there are some efforts and some elements happening in Belize that can support the process of reparations. I don't know if you've heard of the Central American Black Organization, CABO. In Spanish, it's called ONECA, which is the Spanish version, Organización Negra de Centroamérica. Born in Belize, in Stan Creek, in 1995. And our Belizeans were reluctant to truly take on the leadership mantle, which is a problem in and of itself, because it was best suited for Belize to take the lead, because Belizean blacks are in the best position of all Central American countries to lead and to make.
Why was there apprehension among us to take up the mantle where that is concerned?
Because the Central American Black Organization was an effort to really provide solidarity to the then issues of Honduras at the time, that the Garifuna people who lived in San Pedro Sula were on all the beautiful prime beachfront property. They were at risk of losing their land. And so the effort was calling everybody together, all black people, for solidarity. So taking that leadership back there, you know, you take the spotlight to the place where it's most needed, would have been a rationale or a reason for the initiative or the impetus was the Honduras exercise. But the organization is 30 years old almost, and there is a need for us to revisit. But that is a place, in fact, for a lot of discourse to go on about reparations. Because besides the Garifuna blacks of Central America, you have the many West Indian blacks in Panama, Costa Rica. We know about the famous Limon. Everybody knows that story. The Jamaicans went there to help build the railroad. They got to the other side, and then they were left there. It's a story of blacks in America who helped build the railroad, and they went to San Francisco, and they got left there. It's that kind of a thing. And everywhere you have West Indians, so there is a connection for a number of Central American blacks who are connected to the Caribbean. So that's an effort. I speak of it all the time, an effort for Belize, again, to be that bridge between the Caribbean and Central America, because it's a bridge where we have some common heritage with the West Indies. So Cabo has a potential place in this reparation discourse. And we right now have 4 engaged members of Cabo in Belize, but we have at least 3 others who are dormant, who have not taken up membership, which would give us a place where we have a number of interested groups in Belize.
Dr. McKay, I want to ask, as it relates to the discussion of reparations, how would that work, where it could be argued? So
I'm not so sure how it would work. Those are the things that we've asked Sir Hilary Beckles and our ministerial representatives, and certainly at our national level. And that's why we need a national committee or our own national commission. That's why we need that discourse. Just as with anything else, you consult people. You consult those who are impacted.
Here's the thing, right? When people hear reparations, they're thinking monetary recompense.
No, not at all. And
it isn't, but I'm saying that's the first thing that comes to mind. When you hear reparations, is money being given back.
Actually, Sir Hilary Beckles said it best when he said that is actually what was put out by the owing countries, so that it could put that distasteful thing in your mouth, that, oh, you just want money, just the handout, just being beggars, etc., which is an excellent offensive move to take. And so that was what was put out there. You know, they say if you say something 9 times, by the time you get it wrong, it becomes the truth, the fact. So you put out a lie, and it became what was known for the whole process of reparations. And in his discourse, he spoke to the fact that they had to change that paradigm. So we have to make sure that the audience fully understands. Reparations is not about money, because they could never pay.
Exactly.
They could never, never. And we know many of these countries are themselves in dire straits. So the fact is, they have a whole lot more in terms of technology advancement, the access to resources, expertise. There are a host of things that could be done, that including, I think one of the big things that has been discussed is debt relief for all of the international debt, that they left all these colonies in huge debt, because after they have taken everything from countries, you were left having to borrow just to try to set up a basic life for those left behind. So in terms of money, that might be a portion of, because the Caribbean is one of the largest debt regions in the developing world. So there are some things that we have to have. I don't know. We don't know. It should come from discourse. It should come from looking at all aspects of our lives and what we truly need.
I want to go in a slightly different direction with the conversation here. Leading up to today being Emancipation Day, we began hearing about Ibo Town.
Oh,
there was an entire... I mean, for those of us who have studied history over the years, we are familiar with it. But for the younger generation, or for persons who are only just hearing about it, they perhaps would want to know what is the significance of Igbo Town as a past Belizean community and Emancipation Day?
I don't know about and Emancipation Day, but Ibatang is important. There's actually an excellent 2-cent camp. We all know about the Yaya Marines 2-cent camp. And I believe with Niche, they had commissioned her to do a 2-cent camp on Ibatang. So I encourage the viewers, everybody to Google that and take a little look at the history, the brief history of Ibatang. A fire had swept through that community. Ibatang is on the
Albert Street area?
Yes, South Street, Albert Street, to the canal, all the way down to Yabra, that area. So, and Iba is in reference to the Igbo, you know. Lila Vernon talked about all of our people who came, the tribes, the Ashanti, the Igbo. She spoke of all of that, or sang of all of that. And so this was one of these tribes or groups of enslaved Africans who had come and settled, lived in that area. And the people who live in that area ought to be conscious, especially if they can trace back to their grandparents and great-grandparents. It's part of what we are encouraging people to think of: the Belize River Valley, the area, and the Flowers Bank 14. That's our history. This is where we came from. And to sell these things off is not necessarily the best thing. So I just drove past there and going to the festival for the Igbo Festival yesterday, and I saw one lot there with a big sign for sale, and I'm like, oy, 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 oy. Quick money is not necessarily the best money, and people in San Pedro who sold off their beachfront property would be the first ones to tell you it's not the wisest thing to do. But I say, why can't we look at that as a park? It's a nice place for an urban garden. It's a nice place for, but if we were looking at cultural support, here is an opportunity. You know, we just got through COVID and the issues of COVID, the issues of not being able to buy food, because the price of food is rising. Why can't we grow some of those things? So the whole Igbo Town area, the history is a history of where enslaved people lived. Then it's not the only place. You know, Water Lane is critically important too, and that's a story we need to talk about too. And then you have that whole Pinks Alley, the Majestic Alley area is historical, critically important. That the nursery in there, these are areas in Belize City where blacks, the enslaved blacks, were functioning and doing things, and you learn of some of the people who grew up in those areas. I think Ibatang is one of them. It's important for all the reasons where we have Isaiah Morta's statue, and that all of that history around that should be commended. Everybody should go walk through there and look at it with different eyes. Imagine what it was like. And I actually think the fire was on November 19th, and November 19th in, I won't try to say the date because I don't have it here in my head. But it's in the clip. It's in that 2-cent camp piece, and I encourage people to go and take a look. And these are some of the spaces for Belizeans, for any Belizean, whether you're to come up from San Antonio, Toledo, or you're coming from San Antonio, Cayo, or San Antonio, Orange Walk. I think it's Orange Walk. I don't know where the third San Antonio is. Or a Santa Elena, Cayo, or Corozal. Wherever you're coming from, you need to get an understanding of where Belize, how Belize became Belize. That's important. That's how it affects every single one of us who calls this country home.
Yeah. We saw, I know that there were a stream of activities that took place over the weekend to celebrate Emancipation Day leading up today. We also understand that there's a concert that was taking place as early as 6:30 this morning. So perhaps you can speak about some of the activities that you were aware that took place over the weekend.
Yes, a number of people did things, and that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing to do. I know even prior to that, Maureen Coleman did what she has been doing for a while. for at least a decade, I think, except for the COVID era, of going by Golden Bay out at the barracks there and doing the drumming and the flowers in the water. So that happened today, Emancipation Day. And that one that is at the Civic, I think that is what Krem is doing, if I'm not mistaken. But that's a celebration indeed, and it's been done at a beautiful time. This is as people are on their way to work, so they could actually stop in, and it's music. It's a music show. And yesterday, the community from Yabra, the Harambee kind of evolution with the support of Nich Ika, and they did and the National Creole Council, they did their third effort at a commemoration, an activity, a coming out and doing something. And that is after the event happened earlier in the morning with the first official program by the government of Belize, which is to be commended. And confusing though it was, because it wasn't the 1st of August. It's the thing where what was most confusing was having the eve of Emancipation service on the eve of the eve.
The eve of the eve.
That thing confused everybody, and a number of people still didn't. They said, oh, I thought it was tonight, meaning the 31st. So I just keep saying, I hope that whoever that is setting up the holidays, you can have the holiday, but don't move the event from the 1st. That is so critically important. But that happened on the 30th of July. At the Queen Street Baptist Church. And it is something that I say, Belizeans need to understand the Queen Street Baptist effort is a reenactment of that time, because we have it on record. The history is there about that eve. And what they do is exactly what was done on the 31st of July, 1838. Every Belizean should make an effort to attend at least one of those. Isn't that what the Garifuna culture encourages, that you do at least one of the reenactment in your life? In a way, it's for you to understand a lot about what your culture is. So it's these kinds of things that I argue as well, because I am a big push. It's my initiative. We say you must claim your heritage, own your history. I'm doing that. It's a big push behind the initiative of getting June 1st recognized. And so the initiative is the sunrise libation that we do, because in 1797, June 1st was when the public meeting had a vote with the help of the 12 black men and the 2 white men from the Flowers Bank area. So we call it the Flowers Bank 14. But and a site is there at Flowers Bank. And to me, that's the pilgrimage for every resident of Belize. And even our diaspora Belizean, you should make a pilgrimage. If they did not make that vote, Belize would not be the Belize as we know it. We wouldn't be speaking Creole, because we would not have had a British colonizer. We would have had a Spanish colonizer. And that set a whole different paradigm for us in the kind of country that we've grown up into. So I think it is important for us to recognize those kinds of things.
Well, Dr. McKay, this is such a rich conversation, and obviously we could go on even more, but we are short for time, so I'll use this opportunity to ask if you have any last words. I personally would just like to know, I know that you are the chair of the Belize History Association. Is there anything that you would like to further see done as it relates to embracing history and learning history here in Belize?
Yes, and thank you for that opportunity, because I can end on the what next and what can be done. I always champion the fact that if you're a Belizean, you are a member of the Belize History Association. You automatically belong. But for you to be an engaged and active member, you have to sign on. You have to voluntarily. And the History Association has a website and an email. It's the ISCR, the Institute for Social and Cultural Research, is the Secretariat for the Belize History Association. Still, I think. They still support us. And if you go online, you'll see, and you can find an actual form to sign up online. So I encourage people to do that. But the next step, the initiative, the major mandate for us is to get Belize's history written by Belizeans. And I had said this to you once before, because you have to go down in the history books. This talk show is a history. Channel 5, you and William, was it?
No, I'm not Marlene. I'm sorry. Marlene and William.
Marlene and William. What you see what happened when they say we look alike?
Yeah.
Look alike? I just thought that you evolved a little differently. That's all. Marlene and William were the first in Belize to be this talk show. Channel 5 did. That is history that has to be recorded for down the road. How you play, how you make your top. The old-fashioned way, or the carts, the wooden carts. How you made those things, what people did to play games at the old bicycle tires and the stick, etc. That's a history, writing those, and culture at the same time. Writing those things down. You know, Myrna Manzanares tried to do some of this. She wrote a book about some of the games, the ring games and those kinds of things, but there are so many other things that need to be recorded historically. And so we have to do that, not just the big things, it's the little things as well. And my effort is to use my doctor, my PhD, my training, to train others doing research. And not just to leave it at doing the training and having them do the research, but work with the National University, hopefully. We've had some initial discussion to work towards masters and PhDs at the research masters, philosophical, that's what they're called. That's why it's a PhD philosophy. To do that with our history so that whoever is doing the research also benefits. They gain something out of it, and the country gains something. So it's a discussion, it's a discourse that has been ongoing at the surface level, but I'm ready to delve into that. And there are people who want to be a part of that process. And this is especially important for this next generation of leaders. So yes, that is what I look forward to seeing happen. So if you're interested out here, get in touch with, not Marlene, what's your name?
Sabrina.
Sabrina! I know your face. Please look at that as part of getting older. You know, when the old people say, which one you pet?
No, it's okay. But thank you, as always, Dr. McKay, for the information that you provide.
I want to interrupt you and ask you a question.
Let's hear
What
it.
is your name?
I am Isani Kayetango.
You are related to?
Sebastian Kayetango.
And I ask it deliberately because I want to speak of what your family, your mom and dad have done with that community museum. And it is a part of what is going on. That's the kind of history that needs to be recorded. So forgive me for interrupting, but it's critically important for us to recognize the efforts of what is done by families. So in this case, it's not that I don't know who you are, but I want you to say who you are. And for the world to recognize that there is a resource, and at some point, bring them in, have that conversation, and have about whether he will be the one continuing it, or who else will be continuing it. Taking leadership with initiatives, and that's part of what we have to look at too in terms of reparation. Following through on emancipation. That's how we free ourselves, when you tell the story, when you teach your history.
All right. Well, August 1st, Emancipation Day. Definitely keep that in mind today as you go about your day. But August 1st is also the start of the National Breastfeeding Awareness Week. So after the break, we'll be joined by representatives to speak just about that. Don't go away.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Honda Navi, a partner you can rely on. Benquip, equipment, parts, service.
How does investment services work? For example, Joe's Construction wants to expand its operations by purchasing new equipment and hiring additional staff. How can Joe's Construction get an investment loan? The answer: Investment Services appraises the loan application and focuses on two key areas: adequate collateral and repayability. Investment Services will also consider how Belizeans and the economy will benefit from this new investment through job creation and business growth. The terms and conditions for Joe's Construction loan will be based on the purpose and cash flow. After recommendation and approval, the loan is disbursed. SSB remains committed to proper management of the fund through prudent and responsible investments for the benefit of its beneficiaries, employers, and the Belizean economy. Social Security Board, an investment for you, your family, your future.
Welcome back. We are joined by representatives to speak to us about this week's Awareness Week. And of course, that's because it's the National Breastfeeding Awareness Week. We are joined by Robin Daly-Faber, and she is a nutritionist over at the Ministry of Health and Wellness. And also Naroli Williams. She is a nurse and unit manager for the NICU over at the KHMH. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, so August 1st is the start of the National Breastfeeding Awareness Week. And before we even get into the activities taking place, I want to talk about this year's theme and what exactly it speaks to, because I find it really interesting, simply because I was doing my own research before that to cover just what exactly this theme is touching on. So perhaps we can begin with that.
Okay, so this year the theme is enabling breastfeeding, making a difference for working parents, and it's a very applicable theme to what we want to do this year. We have been doing, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, along with our partners, have been doing various campaigns yearly, promoting and advocating for breastfeeding. But this year we want to push more for having supportive workplace for mothers, because that's a big challenge. Many times, as you know, when a woman needs to go back to work, that's where the breastfeeding would stop. And that's where the challenges begin. And many employers, you might believe that they are knowledgeable and they should be supportive, but some are not as supportive. And just having flexible work schedules, having an area where if a woman needs to pump, it's available, things like that, and having that enforcement, kind of like a workplace policy, is what we want to advocate for, because it's very, very, very important to continue breastfeeding. If there's no support for the woman, she will stop.
Yeah.
How do you address, and while we understand that, you know, our society has to move in a certain direction where we allow women to breastfeed at work, or wherever they find it comfortable to be able to do so, there's still a stigma nonetheless about women, excuse me, excuse me, breastfeeding in public spaces, right? How do we take that into account, and how do we combat, or how do we address this kind of a stigma?
With education, I think having more, we did a video, we're hoping to run the video this week, I think 2 years ago, just showing that sometimes, for example, you might be in a public place like you mentioned, and another woman might be offended, or even a man might be offended seeing a woman breastfeed. But it's a right, the woman has that right, and it's a right also to be able to feed her child. So it has to be something that we educate and kind of use that to reduce that discrimination or stigma that might be associated with that. Because once you become more educated and understand that when you're breastfeeding on demand, there's not like us as adults where we eat, you know, breakfast in the morning around 7 and then lunchtime at 12. There's a big 4-hour gap in between. When you're breastfeeding on demand, that child has a right for food. And it's that mother's right also to breastfeed that and feed that child. So it could be on a bus, it could be in a supermarket maybe. So it's just to kind of educate people more and create. It's going to take some time, because some people might never feel like it's appropriate for a woman to be doing that in public. But when you understand that if that child is hungry and that child has a need and it's on demand, then you'll be able to be more open about accepting that.
Growing up as a child, you used to see it everywhere. It was commonplace, so to speak, where you have women breastfeeding their children. Something happened, and it was treated as taboo, like you're not supposed to do that because that is not the appropriate behavior to conduct oneself in public or what have you. And then I saw a few years ago what I will always remember as a very powerful image, where in the United States they ran a similar campaign where they had women in uniform in the military and other forms of service breastfeeding their children to show that it's okay to be able to do that wherever you are. That is a right, as you said, a fundamental one at that, to be able to feed your child. But back to the local context, you go to certain places and you see that there are mothers who do that, perhaps in the rural communities, for instance, and it's acceptable. But in and around the city, it's rare that you see that, because for whatever reason it's treated as if though we're not supposed to do that when we're outside.
It's about education. That's one way we would say. And also, I think, back again to education, people look at the breast, of course, as being sexualized, and they look at it as something intimate and private. And in a way it is, but then when we're looking at the context of where it is, because there are ways that you can breastfeed subtly, I guess, and it doesn't have to be offensive to people. I know some people would just put a little rag over and things like that. But the point is that we want to make sure the breastfeeding doesn't stop and people don't make the woman feel like she's doing something wrong for being able to feed her child. So it's just continuing to have the discussions, having conversations like these, forums, education, workplace education sessions. Those things will make a difference. And of course, running campaigns or commercials that we have or ads will help to at least remove some of that discrimination.
There are countries that actually have policies in place to support women at the workplace. Breastfeeding women at the workplace. And while doing some of my own research, I stumbled on places that simply believe that mothers could breastfeed in the bathroom or can express their milk in the bathroom. What are your reactions to that?
And that is another ad that we have also. Many employers believe, and they are still doing it, and that's something that we really, really want to stop. You won't go and have your food in the bathroom. So why should a mother be preparing food for her child, expressing milk in the bathroom, where is so many germs and it's not hygienic? So we really need to continue our campaigns and education to have employers realize that it is not right. It is wrong to have a woman go in the bathroom to do breastfeeding, to do or pumping the breast. Because you would not prepare, you would not take your lunch in the bathroom. So why should she be preparing her child's food there? So it's of course completely wrong, and we want to move away from that. No matter how clean you might believe that bathroom is, you would not go sit down in there and have your lunch. So we know it's the same concept that we need to move away from. So that's another ad that we want to also continue to sensitize and educate the public on, especially employers, that it's not right. And women should stand up for that right also. You being the woman, being able to wanting to pump, you should be able to tell your employer, no, you should not be in the bathroom, and it's, you know, you would like to have an area or some privacy where you can do your pumping.
Nurse Williams, I want to bring you into the conversation simply because, aside from the theme covering challenging business places to have spaces where nursing mothers can express their milk, I also want to speak to simply the importance of breastfeeding, the benefits of breastfeeding to mother and to child. Can you speak about that?
Okay, so it does have to contribute with the team as well, because, and if you notice, the team talks about parents, so it doesn't only
acknowledge mothers.
Exactly. And the fathers do have a big role to play in it as well. So some fathers might be working and they may need a time to go over and help their wives. Or right now, the leave is only 5 days for
men.
the majority of men, some are less. So one of the goals is to improve on that, give more time to breastfeeding, and of course the expression time at work as well. The mothers do need the support from the family, which include the father and the other family members. Expressing, some places have designated areas. Tomorrow, Thursday, we're supposed to open another room at Carlution. We have one. And that will give more people, visitors and staff and mothers, a place to express when they're in the facility. But about the importance, if the public understands the importance of breastfeeding, it helps the development of the brain. It produces smarter babies, smarter children. They're less sick, so they have less expense, less allergies, respiratory problems. It's cheaper, everything price is going up these days, so it's readily available. You don't have to warm, you don't have to find bottles or container to feed. You know, it helps with brain development, so you don't have a lot of people like now, the young children just doing what we're not supposed to be involved with. So if the brain is developed properly, you don't have a lot of dropouts and stuff in school. So it helps, and if the public understands that, then the stigma, as you mentioned earlier. And I do think it's not as bad here as outside of the country. It's still pretty much accepted that the mother can breastfeed anywhere. And even our mothers, they feed, even if maybe people might look at it a certain way. And I think because of the exposure now that people have internationally, you know, even with crimes and things, it's coming into the country. And the same thing applies to breastfeeding. If it happens there and you cannot breastfeed in public in the US, then you have tourists and other people coming into Belize, and you don't want them to see you breastfeeding. Or people from Belize go and live over that side and come back with the same mentality. Because I remember once I traveled to and from work almost every day, and I was on the bus sitting beside somebody that he was not Belizean. Or he was Belizean, but he wasn't living in the country for some years. And the seat next beside us, the lady took out her breast and she was breastfeeding her baby. So he looked at me and he said, "Oh, gross." So I asked him, "Why is it gross? She's feeding her baby. The baby is hungry." And what is gross about the breast, you know, you see a girl with a shirt, pants, and the breast exposing, you would want to watch, but because the baby is breastfeeding now, it's gross. And he said, thinking about it, it's true, but they're not used to it because where he was living is not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just to accept and know the importance of the child being breastfed. And we encourage breastfeeding at least up to 6 months, exclusively with nothing else, because the breast milk have everything, the antibodies.
I was just about to ask you to speak about the importance of breastfeeding in that context.
Yeah, so from birth to 6 months, and they need nothing else, not water, no aniseed, no. A lot of people have the tradition of giving babies aniseed and garlic and grape water. If you breastfeed as the baby wants it, we teach the cues that what signs the mother can look for when the baby is hungry, and feed on demand, then they should not have any problem with that.
It's considered the golden food, I was told. I had the opportunity to speak with a well-known community health worker, retired nurse, Miss Penelope Casasola, also known as Miss Penny. And, you know, I was able to learn through her that as much as we see that there are mothers that are challenging the discrimination that's out there with them breastfeeding, there are also a lot of mothers that aren't breastfeeding because of that, because of going to work and not having spaces safely, privately, and free of discrimination to breastfeed or express their milk. So with that in place, what are you guys doing to spread the awareness this week?
Well, this morning we're here, and I think other media houses have staff and guests as well doing the same thing. We have the fair tomorrow, so we have, we'll be talking about different things. We'll have different education about the breast at Carl Huchner with different teams. And then we have the opening of the other room, and then we have like games and stuff that you could answer questions and get a little prize and stuff like those. It will be on social media as well. And also, we at Carl Huchner, we do provide the staff and relative to express milk. We know it's a challenge in other places. But besides expressing the milk, they need to know how to store it properly, because once expressed, it's good for 6 to 7 months frozen. So when mommy goes back to work, daddy could feed, or babysitter could still feed, and the baby could still get the breast milk. And because it's this important, it's not just giving the baby breast, but just the skin to skin with mommy as well.
Yeah.
So after delivery, what we encourage and what we practice at the Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital, we have all the government hospital and clinic being mother-baby friendly right now. Because of COVID, we haven't been doing evaluations, so we hope to get that started very soon, maybe next year. But even after C-section, you may say that they may not be able to do the skin-to-skin after C-section, but we do. As soon as that baby is delivered, the baby is put skin to skin with mommy, and the assessment and everything is done there. And then it's the golden hour, not the golden, you have the golden food, the golden minute, but it's considered the golden hour because baby is adjusting from intrauterine to extrauterine life. And having the baby skin to skin with mommy, it does give them that opportunity to adapt to outside life easier. Unless in extreme emergency where mommy is really ill or the baby is ill, then that doesn't happen. And if mommy can't, then daddy can do skin to skin as well.
My last question is for you, Robin, because we see that this year's theme really speaks to policy as it relates to workplaces or simply having breastfeeding friendly facilities. Of course, also paternal leave. Is there anything that the Ministry of Health and Wellness is considering policy-wise that would tie in with this year's theme as it relates to what I mentioned?
Well, we are also doing a lot for this month. Actually, we normally extend our activities because of all the regions and the different districts, the clinics. They try to maximize a lot for this month. promotion in particular for breastfeeding. So we will also be doing sensitization sessions with employers. We're also supporting and we're joining with KHMH to have the fair with our HECOPAB units. We utilize the health educators and the community health workers to support breastfeeding and nutrition and other health services. So that's something that's going to be done. We want to strengthen our institutional framework. So because of that, which you mentioned about policy, so we have to make sure that, because as Nurse mentioned, during COVID, a lot of nutrition and other programs were put on the back burner. So now we have to catch up and strengthen. So we are activating our breastfeeding committees in the districts, which can help us to strengthen at the institution level.
Okay.
And that's going to help us to also strengthen our policy. We do have our policy that we want to launch. It has been in draft for some time. And we recently launched our nutrition policy, but we also want to do our breastfeeding policy. And having the session with employers, launching our breastfeeding policy, reactivating our breastfeeding committees in the districts and the regions, regional hospitals, would be more backing for our policy enforcement, because we need to have more people on the ground to help us to do monitoring, to look at measures in place at different facilities. So that's why it's important. A big aspect of breastfeeding is to educate. Employers need education, the fathers need education, they need support. Other members that are within the workplace need to be sensitized, and they need to know and understand the importance of breastfeeding. And all of those take additional human resources, it takes time. So the more people we have on board as a committee, it helps us. And also the strengthening and the support we use with our partners. So UNICEF, we have a breastfeeding study that was done also that is going to be launched this year. And it highlights some of the challenges that have been occurring within the rural communities, urban communities that women may face that are breastfeeding. And those are things we want to focus on and launch, which helps us, our educational campaigns, to educate and strengthen the general public and our stakeholders. Because as you mentioned, if we want to do policy, we need to have sensitization, we need to do education, and that's where policy can be developed. And we want to encourage also employers to don't wait for us to come and have this big talk. You have maybe many women within your work team. What measures do you have in your workplace that can support a woman that's pregnant or a woman that's breastfeeding? What can be done to help them? Is there an area? Is there flexibility, work schedule, shifts, whatever could be done? We want employers to be thinking about this and seeing what they could start to do. I know some workplaces have it already, but it's just to strengthen what we have and to advocate and sensitize some more. So the health fairs help. Having different, I know people are looking at having different areas within their workplaces that can support women who are breastfeeding. But all of this ties into where we go to that next stage with having policy. So right now there's a lot of education and sensitization, and that will take us into policy. But of course, the sensitization takes place at different levels. And as you mentioned, Ms. Penny will be, she's always ready to support. So our partners that we've been working along with over the years, and that has always helped us, we want to strengthen that collaboration also for this time. And of course to continue it, because we always say not only August we want to hear about breastfeeding, right? We want to hear about it throughout the year. So those are some of our initial plans.
All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for coming and talking to us on the first day of Breastfeeding Awareness Week. We are looking forward to seeing all the activities that you guys will have planned for this week. So,
and thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will be joined by some athletes to talk to us about a volleyball championship coming up. Don't go away.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited postpaid plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart.
It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
When hungry or craving, when laughter or tears, enjoy the best snacking or flavors are here. Asadas, bocadas, chiladas, doradas, Belizean fresh snacking done right and done here.
Done right, done here.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank contactless MasterCard debit card. Introducing our standard debit and MasterCard Platinum debit cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
KTV The Remix Season 5, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Pony Drive and 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. $3 for children and $5 for adults. Or catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Don't miss KTV The Remix Season 5. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Are you looking for low-cost television advertising? Have we got a deal for you? Advertise on Channel 5's Daily Classifieds. Channel 5's Daily Classifieds is one of the most effective methods for introducing yourself and your business to the community. Use our Daily Classifieds to recruit employees, promote specials, promote your products or services, promote a business opportunity, increase traffic to your website, and advertise items you have for sale. Let us help you to save valuable time and money. Call us today at 280-0013 or visit us at our offices on Coney Drive to discuss how we can help your business grow affordably. Channel 5 Daily Classifieds. Advertise today.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Marian Ali, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes. Go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Welcome back. We are having our third and final conversation for the morning, and this one is all about sports. We are talking the 23rd Central American Men's Volleyball Championship. Of course, we are joined by some athletes themselves. We have with us Albert Humes. He is the head coach, as well as Kalen Ingram. He is the opposite.
Yeah.
All right. And Iseri Palacio, and he is the middle blocker.
That's right.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Now, we were just talking about how sports is so active this year, and we're all enjoying it. And now we're switching gears from basketball to volleyball. So where do we begin? Coach, why should we be looking out for this championship taking place here in Belize?
Well, thanks for having us in the first place. We just came off the female championship, then we went to the basketball championship. Now we're at the scene at the highest level of volleyball in Belize. Belize does have something to prove in this tournament because I think on paper we have the best team. And I think hosting this tournament should be our time in the spotlight at number one in this senior level in Belize. No?
What has the training and the preparation been like for you guys in terms of getting yourself ready for this tournament?
You want to take this? Well, you know, I just came back from school like a couple months ago, so my body was already kind of like in the, the mix of it. But like physically, I was kind of tired because I didn't really have a break. So I took like 2 weeks off, and then I started practice again. But we have like 2 practices every day, and even with 2 practices, I still try to go to the gym in between. So that's kind of like hard on your body sometimes. And we only get like the Monday afternoon off for each week. We go full on. Sundays, if you want to go to church, you have to go early in the morning, and then 6 o'clock service, and then you come in for practice. So it's like, it's really a lot. But you have to have the mental to go along with the physical.
This is a time where you're really testing yourselves of how much you want that win based on how hard you're training, the dedication that you have to put in place. Iseri, let's take it over to you. What's preparation like right now?
So preparation right now, especially like for me, because I work full time, so I could only make the practices in the evenings. So in the mornings, I'll just do my own gym session. And of course, diet and nutrition is very important. This year we had, what's the name of the nutritionist that came to talk to us? Miss Karine. Miss Karen, yeah, she came to talk to us about nutrition, and I could really see how that's helping a lot of people. Like whenever we go to practice now, somebody would have some nuts, some bananas, just to keep us up through practice. The physical preparation, our coaches, they have done a great job with us so far, and definitely it will show in competition. Like Coach was saying earlier, this is one of the strongest male selection team that I have actually seen in a while, because I've been playing volleyball at the senior level for some years now. And I do agree we have a really strong team this year.
Yeah. So you said, Coach, that this is as big as it gets, or as big as the Belize team has played so far.
Well, this is the highest level of volleyball. The senior championship, that's the highest level. So this is the highest level of players that we have in the country.
So are we feeling the jitters come championship game?
To be honest, when I saw the female hit me first, but when I saw the male U17 basketball game, and they were playing "We Are the Champion" in the background, really put that chill in the background. Because from start, I have told these guys they are the best and they can be number one. I keep saying it over and over and over for them to believe. But when we heard that song, many of them responded in that same fashion, that that's the song they want to hear at the end of this tournament. We are the champion, because we have that ability.
What are the teams or the various countries that we are facing in this tournament?
Well, we are facing all Central American countries: Panama, Costa Rica, Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua. What I missed?
El Salvador.
El Salvador.
Honduras.
So Honduras.
So on paper, Belize's team seems to be the best.
Yes, had always been the best for quite some time, but we didn't have that time to prepare a team to the level, not physically, but mentally. This time we have at least 3 months of hard training. This is the first time the team since the 90s where team train twice per day, actually 5 hours per day. So that's give them the mental preparation for the game. So I think at this level, the guys we are almost peaking. We don't want them to peak yet. We want them to peak next week.
All right.
Which team would you say would be the most formidable? I ask that because when we look at volleyball regionally, we're looking at Costa Rica as a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter which category, Costa Rica is always the team to beat. How do you guys look at that? How do you assess the competition?
Well, I once had a coach that, he told me that, everyone is, human. We all put on our pants one leg at a time. So we do look at our competition as like, we have strong teams, we have technical teams, we have smart teams, but we try not to let that get in our head and try to still play our game like how we play our game and, play at our level. And even if a team isn't playing at their best, we try not to like stoop to their level, but we keep our level.
So the game is coming up and it will be hosted in Belize, correct? Yes. Where's the venue or where will it take place and the dates?
Okay, it will be at the Civic Center. The team comes in from the 4th, but the competition is from the 6th to the 12th.
All right. And of course,
game starts at 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
Yeah, Belize Pay at 7:30 in the night.
Love it.
All night.
Perfect time for me after work. So, I mean, we were able to experience what a Belize fan base looks like when we have these competitions here in country. I'm sure you guys are expecting the same for volleyball. So let's use this opportunity to invite the people out and to just let them know that they're in for a treat.
Yeah, definitely. The Belizean fan base, whenever you're playing at home and you could look behind you and you could see your mom, your dad, your relatives there, it's like an extra boost of encouragement. It makes you want to push harder, go beyond your limits and show your family, show the people who have supported you that you care, you want to make them proud. So people, the Belizean public coming out to support, it's going to go a long way for all of us playing to represent this beautiful country.
And yourself?
It's always great to see your family and your friends in the bleachers cheering for you. It gives you a bit of like motivation and power to chase on a ball and dig those humongous spikes and jump an extra inch to block a ball. So I know it's just motivation to see them there.
I'm curious, how long have you both been playing volleyball? Or when did you begin?
I've been playing volleyball from since 2010 to present. So I've been here for a while. It's always an incredible feeling when you could be at home and play. This is going to be my second time doing it. And I could tell you that the feeling is just immense. Because all the other years we've been traveling abroad, people are chanting against us, so we've never really had that full effect of being supported when you're playing, right?
You don't feel like you have that home court advantage.
When it's in Belize, we bring out the drummers, everything, What made you guys choose this discipline, though, above the others?
Well, when I started volleyball, I started at Stars at the Dragons Club. And, I went for like a couple months and then I was like, I'm not really seeing much progress, so I'm gonna quit. And then I started seeing people, family coming in and it gave like a whole inclusivity, like a type of feeling that, your family or friends, the whole volleyball world is very small, so we tend to be really close. And that's what I'm enjoyed the most from it.
Yeah, for me, I'm a tall person, right? So basketball tried to recruit me first. So I started playing basketball. I was okay at it, but then the community that volleyball had around it, that's what really held me towards volleyball. And then I come from PG, so that's like a well-known sport down there. Everybody's going to be playing volleyball in the evenings. So as a high school kid coming home from school, I want to go with all my friends, so I would go play volleyball, and that's kind of what stuck me there.
All right, well, gentlemen, we are excited to follow this game come the midweek or the end of this week, the 4th, you said? They'll be
First
coming
game will be on this Sunday.
On the 6th, all right. Do you have any sponsors that you'd like to mention that has assisted in making this possible?
Okay, BVA hat now. The BTB, Love FM are our main sponsors, along with Boeing and Boeing. That's our three main.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys coming here and sharing what's taking place and what we can expect. We can't wait to follow. I know I'll be glued if I'm not there personally. So all the best and good luck.
Okay.
All right. And thank you guys for having us.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we are going to take our final break, and when we come back, we wrap things up.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there, see? Babe, the price me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Ouch.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank Online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
KTV The Remix Season 5, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Come on out and win fabulous prizes and the chance to compete in our halftime challenge. Tickets are available at Channel 5 on Pony Drive and 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard. $3 for children and $5 for adults. Or catch it live on Channel 5, Facebook, and YouTube every Tuesday at 8 p.m. from the Bliss Center for the Performing Arts. Don't miss KTV The Remix Season 5. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
Make your summer better. Over $30,000 in cash and prizes with Smart Summer Sweepstakes. Here's how you can enter for a chance to win. Sign up for a smart postpaid, broadband, or VoIP plan. Use $100 or more regular prepaid credit. Do a SIM swap or text in to the shark code 786. In the body of the message, enter the number of entries you would like to purchase.
No waste no time. You can be the winner of weekly prizes. All methods give you more chances to win local airline tickets, overnight stays at numerous resorts, cash prizes, gift certificates, and much, much more. One lucky person will win the grand prize valued at $10,000, courtesy of Smart and the Belize Tourism Board.
Promotion ends September 15th. So make your summer better by getting in the race to win with Smart's Summer Sweepstakes. Smart, bringing people together.
And we'll be back in a few, so stay tuned. Thanks, Jen. Hey there, we know you have to head out to work shortly, but don't forget that you can stay tuned by watching us on our Facebook live stream. Find us at Open Your Eyes BC, and you can continue watching there. You can also download Facebook Watch on your streaming device, and you can watch at your own convenience.
And for all the behind-the-scenes fun, follow us on Instagram at OYE Belize. So,
find us
and follow us
today.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. We are wrapping up a great Tuesday conversation. Isani, we had 3 great conversations. Of course, starting things off with Dr. Abigail McKay speaking about the significance of Emancipation Day, which is actually today. Of course, there were a stream of activities that took place over the weekend. But we had a really rich conversation with her, speaking about several topics as it relates to slavery in Belize, and of course, us being at this point now where we can celebrate not being a part of that, but also still acknowledging the importance of its history. And in our second conversation, we were joined by representatives of the Ministry of Health and Wellness to speak about National Breastfeeding Awareness Week. Of course, it begins today and it ends at the end of the week. And this year's theme speaks to policies as it relates to having workplaces implementing breastfeeding facilities, lactation rooms if you must, and also speaking to the roles that fathers play in this process, and also, of course, having paternal leave. I believe it's only 5 days some dads get when they're requesting paternal leave. But really speaking to the importance that dads play in this process of having a newborn. I mean, I'll use this opportunity to insert that this week's Bright Side will definitely touch on that. This week's Bright Side will be covering the theme that speaks to the facilities, the workplaces that have these breastfeeding friendly places, and also meeting a mother and a father that's really taking that role seriously when it comes to breastfeeding. But yeah, and in our third and final segment, we were joined by some athletes because it is the 23rd Central American Men Volleyball Championship. And if you were enjoying sports from the basketball team, move things over to volleyball, because on Sunday we have to go out and support our guys playing volleyball at the Civic Center. This is a game to follow. It's one of the highest games that Belize will be playing here in Belize, and of course they just need the support. So I'm looking forward to that. But Isani, you know what I think happened? It's because it's a Monday, Tuesday, we forgot that the Tuesday part means that it's KTV. Tonight is KTV The Remix, and we are winding down the show. It's no more eliminations by doubles. This first night, we will be seeing eliminations by singles, but they will be battling for it in duets. So you all should be excited about it. The genre for tonight is country and pop music, so we're in for a treat as always. I'm looking forward to the performances. Definitely, if you haven't bought your tickets, you still can. They're sold at the 88 Shopping Center on Central American Boulevard, as well as Channel 5 here on Coney Drive. And of course, the tickets are only $5 for adults and $3 for children. And guys, if you have your favorites, now's the time to come out, because it's getting less and less, Isani, and I don't know. By now you should have a favorite, yeah? I remember you said I had to put you. Well, I have my favorites, and thankfully they're still in. They're still going strong.
That's good.
I have at least 2 favorites, but I'm really excited because I see that this season on its own has really brought about a lot of talent. We've seen them be as creative as possible as well. And I'm really enjoying the show. I definitely, I hear the feedback from the public. We see that the Bliss is always packed jam. People are there enjoying it as well. And I know that as we wind down to the final night, it's only going to get better.
I look at these kinds of competition perhaps from a more technical perspective, where I question how deep the knowledge and the understanding of the artists are where it comes to the music selections and what have you. Like, for instance, they would have had a week to find a song either from the country genre or the pop genre and be able to deliver that particular song. But to be able to do that, you have to understand the form of music, the artist who you're choosing their work, and the nuances in the delivery for the original song, right? And so that's always my question. How well or how knowledgeable are they in terms of being able to understand the technical aspect of what it takes to get on there and deliver these songs?
You know, I'm going to put you on the spot in this way, because I remember last week you were saying man, they could have choose some better oldies, some nicer tracks from soundtracks, that is, from blockbuster movies. Is there any particular songs from the pop and country genre that you are hoping to hear tonight?
Well, I mean, country music, sorry, is such a broad genre.
Yeah.
I mean, you could think of, you know, Lady Antebellum.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
all
a
of
good
these
one.
other, yeah. And then that's on the countryside, for instance.
I'm looking forward to a song like that.
You could go Rihanna if you wanted. That qualifies as pop, you know. It's just, my thing is, if I were a contestant, I need to be able to not only select a song, but study the artist that I'm going to be performing their music. And this is what I'm saying, right? So I would need to understand everything that there is to know about country music, perhaps in the context of Taylor Swift singing a country song, being able to get in her mind. And that's the, I don't know if that's what they're doing, you know, but I'm thinking those are the kinds of, you know, going into something like this. It's highly technical, understanding the pitch and the delivery and the cadence and so on and so forth. It's very technical, but it's a matter of being able to understand the space that the artist is in within the context of the genre that they're producing music.
And I think that's why, of course, they have the judges there to guide them, that have been guiding them over the past few weeks. They also have with them Giselle O'Brien, who's been really assisting with some of the song choices for the duet part. But overall, of course, the viewers, they have their way. We saw last week where some of the viewers or some of the fans have been suggesting some of the songs for them to sing for soundtracks. So we're going to see what takes place this week as it relates to country music and pop music. I'm looking forward to this week's performance, and I think we're in for a week.
We want to hear some, you know, those kinds of songs from those artists that bring you to that point, you know.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we're also in for a treat as it relates to having a group performance. So if you are familiar with last year's season, that took place later on in the show, where you'd see the group singing together as a whole, of course, courtesy of Giselle O'Brien and her guidance. So I'm really looking forward to that as well. Again, if you haven't bought your tickets, it's not too late. But of course, if you want to watch it at home, we do have our social media pages that you can access the live stream from. But we are just about out of time, Isani. And we want to say, again, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you are celebrating a birthday today, we want to say happy birthday to you. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can send us an email at oie@channel5blues.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram for behind-the-scenes content at OYE Belize. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us, and please join us again tomorrow as you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a great Tuesday.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.